Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm Van Orn and this is another Dragonheir Silent God video. This is the second video on the Chief Challenge bosses, and today we're gonna take on the Fire boss, the one that takes more damage from fire, and we're gonna use old school wild comp to do a lot of damage, a lot of unexpected damage, to be honest. So let's jump into the boss. Let's have a look at the skills and what we need to do for this boss. The boss basically has two basic attacks that basically buff himself with some of this random buff on both of them for every 6 seconds, and then the ultimate deals necrotic damage to all enemies when the monster has one or more buff. The damage dealt by this skill ignore the target shield, immortality, and invisibility. So you really want to prevent him to have any sort of buff, so you can basically do more damage, especially if the boss gets the defense up or the damage reduction, which are really annoying when you're trying to do high score. And you obviously don't want him to do a lot more damage on your comp. Now, there are many ways you can go about it. You can remove it. You can use champion that use block buff, or you can do champions that remove their own battle skills, for example, to try to get around very quickly. I've chose to go with the block buff, and I'm using a legendary champion that I have already built, but you can use some alternative for sure. I'm using Victor. And this is the comp I'm using over here. I'm putting all together on the front, and we are basically using Garius, Tonanon, Victor, Enrich, and Tia. Surprisingly, one rare over there. Now, Victor can be placed anywhere, to be honest. You can place it on this side too, doesn't matter. What we're doing over here is basically protecting the team with Garius because he has the gatekeeper stuff, and so when he heals, he's going to protect the team, shield up all of us, and basically preventing the boss to take any buff on himself with Victor. Now, Victor, it's an amazing champion to do this because he has a block buff and remove all their buff on a battle skills, and also on the ultimate he does it and convert it to debuff. He is quite annoying, to be honest, because he plays random debuff, and one of them is a recharge speed penalty, which makes this comp pretty much impossible to time. I am thinking that if you don't have Victor, you should probably consider building some other champions. You can use Dane to remove the buff, but if you do so, you need to basically have him go after the second battle skills, remove all the debuff, all the buff that the boss has on himself, and then focus all the rest of the attack in that window there, so you can basically do more damage and avoid any damage reduction or decreased defense or increased defense. You can use champions like Fira, that has a block buff on battle skills as well. This is more difficult to time because it's going to be up on 100% of the time every 5 seconds. So you could potentially have it up for 5 seconds, every 12. So you can potentially have it up most of the time, but not all the time. And then it has an accuracy penalty on ultimate, which is not really useful. I will rather use someone like Liko or Lyko that has the buff prohibition on the ultimate. It's lasting for 10 seconds, and basically what you're gonna do is to time it to be placed before the first of the two battle skills, so it's gonna cover both of the battle skills, and you're not gonna have problems on any of the ultimate. You need to get the recharge speed penalty of this kills below 18 seconds, and you can do so by using the hourglass or the incense burner. Bring this one below 18 seconds with some skill haste, and you're going to be able to stay up with the boss. She also have defense up, and she heals the lowest HP champion, so she's going to help your team. If you're lacking accuracy, this is not good, unfortunately, but she's a good champion. And she basically gonna grants accuracy up to herself if she doesn't have any buff. You're probably not gonna bring a lot of buff in this fight, so she might have the increased accuracy, so you don't need to build as much. She is really good to do that, to do this fight. I'm using Victor because I have him already built, and therefore I don't have to use my energy to build anybody else. He is annoying, as I said, with the recharge speed penalty, so I need to keep an eye on the fight, and even if I time everything, I need to basically postpone Garius' ultimate before the boss ultimate to be able to keep everybody alive until the end of the fight, because we don't really have a decreased attack over here. Victor plays it on the ultimate, but it's basically never up. I don't know what's wrong with that, but it never goes up. And even if it has high accuracy, has 300, almost 350 accuracy, that doesn't do anything. By the way, I'm using this build on him because it's basically one of the two champions that I need to build with accuracy, and I wasn't sure what to do with the gear, so I went for the slingshot, accuracy, negative rune, build some accuracy as much as I can, give some crit rate, give a lot of attack, and hope for the best. Basically, it's doing a lot of damage, to be honest, for the build he has. And the other champion I'm using basically with accuracy is going to be Tia. Tia has the Witch's Remain for me, or the Crown and Clean if you don't have it. She is built with enough accuracy to do the job, and then I'm giving some crit rate, crit damage, and an attack to squeeze some damage out. I'm choose her because she has a triple hit on her ultimate, and her passive, every time a wild check happens, will recharge her ultimate by 5%. So she's going to cycle through her ultimate quite quickly, keeping the decreased defense up most of the time of the fight. I built her with the Emperor set. This is one of the lowest damage Emperor sets I have. I'm using some crit damage and accuracy epic runes because I haven't farmed yet a lot of runes, but she can do the job. And I'm using Garius with the Gatekeeper staff in protection to try to soak up a bit of damage for anybody else. High defense, has a lot of skill haste given from the Gatekeeper staff and some from the gear. He's basically using his ultimate every 18 seconds to keep up with the boss, as I said. And I've done timing for him, just for him basically, because I'm running basically 17-18 seconds. The rest of the team, the two other wilds, are going to be my DPS. Now, when you come to DPS, we need to talk about gear for a second. I've already published a video yesterday from when this video is going to come out, talking about my Ice Blast team, and I've been able to push that comp over 40 million. Now, in those comments down below, while I was working on this video, I've noticed that a few people were mentioning the usage of the Emperor set. That set was particularly good, for example, last season on the Mechatork, because the side minions that he was shooting out, they have very low attack. I kind of forgot about that set, and I went for the aerial set on all my champions because it's building a lot of attack. Obviously, more crit damage you have, you're building even more attack, and it was, in my mind, the best set for doing this job. But in a couple of messages there, people were commenting that they were using Emperor set and they would have better results basically. So I went back and retried the run. I geared everybody out in Emperor set, and I'm gonna put up on the screen the result over here. I went from 40 million all the way to 57 million with my Ice Blast team. Same champion, nothing crazy on the gear, same runes, same artifact and everything. I just swapped the two sets basically, and the damage increase is substantial. 17 million on that comp, and on this one I did the same. I've run this comp with the aerial set and I was getting around 34 million. Then I swapped everything out and went to the Emperor, and I'm gonna show you what gear I'm running. Let's have a look at Tononon. Tononon has the Rivatrix root, has a mythical crit damage gauntlet with terrible substats. Attack, this is a quite good piece. Attack, crit damage, defense, and enlightenment on an attack percentage chest. And he has the average, helmet, and weapon for a total of decent crit rate, decent crit damage, and a good attack. 3,500 almost attack. And he is also going to build up his crit damage through the fight when he checks the wild. And Erich is built instead with a crit rate also of the same mythical, will basically do more damage when the decreased defense is out. And he's also an Emperor, higher crit rate, much lower crit damage over here, very high attack. I'm using the Eye of the Giant over here, and he is also going to stack up a lot of damage. I went from 34 million, as I said, when I was running the aerial set, all the way up to 51 million with this comp. I'm going to put it up on the screen right now. It's pretty impressive, the damage increase, and it's pretty impressive that we can run basically a comp like this one with such a low rank champions level. Like if you take off Victor and you put in Lyko, for example, you're going to be probably able to achieve very similar results if you have the same gear that I have. Now, if you don't have the Witch's Remain, obviously you need to cut down your damage because the Crowning Clean is going to reduce a lot of the damage you do. But we are so much more above the minimum, which is 22 million, that I'm sure that even if you do so, you can survive quite well. You can also try to use a champion like Elminster, but you need to have the sets of gear that remove buff from the enemies when you place in debuff. It has a 50% chance of removing a buff every time you place a debuff. So if you put the Crowning Clean on Elminster, it's going to place decreased attack, decreased accuracy, and decreased defense, for example. Or it's going to try to place them all three. He's gonna basically proc that 50% 3 times, and he only has to remove 2 debuff. So you can remove with a good chance every debuff from this boss. So you can shield, place decreased attack, increase your survivability. You only need a piece of that gear, even if it has bad stats. You just need to reach the right accuracy, and you can use that sort of champion. I would suggest, though, using someone like Lyko for now, unless you have that piece of gear, as I said. If you don't have Garius instead, you can replace it with Adolphus. I'm not sure he's going to grant to you the same survivability, to be honest. You're probably going to lose some. He's absolutely incredible. If you don't have the Gatekeeper stuff instead, you need to move the heals from before the hits of the boss to right after. And that is going to basically heal your team back between the hits. You need to have the champions healed up all the fights, basically. It's going to be difficult to survive 5 minutes without any shield. But if you can basically squeeze in another sustain, you're probably going to drop a lot of damage though. So if you run, for example, Garius for healing, Adolphus for shielding, and someone else for the removal of the buff and decrease attack, like it could be Elminster, you only have 2 spots left for DPS. Now, one of them might wear the Crowning Clean or the Witch's Remain, unless you put it on Elminster, for example. And so you're dropping a lot of damage over there. This comp obviously is pushed a bit to the extreme. 51 million with this sort of champions is quite impressive. Erich is a legendary, but it's a legendary everybody should have. The rest of the comp is epic, with the exclusion of Victor. And obviously, if you don't have Victor, as I said, we already spoke about the alternative. The score is getting very high for being week 1. And I am quite impressive with the results of the Emperor set over the Aerial. So if you go back and rewatch your comps, try to find those Emperor sets, squeeze the damage, squeeze the stats in, and get the damage out, because those sets are absolutely game changing when you could come for your difference. For example, if you are 18 million and you want to push to 22 million. This is everything for the video tonight. I hope you guys enjoy it, and I'm gonna see you soon with another video about Dragonheir Silent God.